to Occultists Anonymous and our Mage Chronicle Into the West, sponsored by y'all. Thank you very much. Sorry about the end of last episode. That was just kind of like, we were like, oh yeah, here's a good stopping spot. And so, yeah. Thank you to our patrons who support us monetarily every week. These episodes happen because of your support. Well, that's a lie. Nobody should feel pressured. If you all disappeared, it would be okay. We'd probably still continue doing this because we're kind of what we do every Friday night. I don't know what I would do with myself.
Like, pay for awesome artwork and do
definitely that
replacements. And...
yeah, so it is very much appreciated. Thank you to Adele, Alice, Aiden, Al, Alexander, Alstrit, Bernie, Buck, Chris, DNA, Hi, I'm Paul, Doc, Emil, Ethan, Jeff, George, James, Camo, Catfeathers, Klaus, Live Love Lesbian, Bilo V3, Moku, Mozart D Minor, Nexus, Nick, Other Guy, Perry, Foog, Polka Dot Hubris, Porter, Puppeteer, Riafio, Sean, Shrexar, Starfish, Terran, Terry D, Thomas Verhext. Stop acting like it's his last name. Vincent, Vortex, and Zoltan. Thank you all so much for your support. It means a lot to us. When we last left our coven 5 minutes ago, we had just...
You don't need to tell him that. You don't need to tell him that.
It's just a fun joke for me because we haven't done it in a long time.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. It's like it's been a while since we've done it.
I only worked a half day today, so I got home in time.
All right.
We appreciate it. Rael had met with y'all in I guess technically it would be Texas, if I remember correctly. Well south from Purgatory Bluff, in amongst some of the buttes. Maybe not. Well, yeah, it would be Texas at this time. Just not necessarily modern Texas. Anyways, yes, buttes that, as Baba Sarah flashily goes, ta-da, and opens up and being like, yeah, one time I got kind of megalomaniacal, and
he does not mention that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, there's
as we walk in, as Ryle say, there's such a rampant display of magical ability.
That's correct. It wasn't megalomaniacal, but yes. Mm-hmm. And carved furniture out of stone, and 2 cozy graves, one Baba Sarah sized, the other Legba sized.
So nice.
Where they spent the night in the ground. Yeah, that was a weird night.
Great. Why not? Ground above, it's all the same. Distance is a lie. I can get out if I need to.
Yep. This is the same place that Legba bent his way through the raindrops.
Oh yeah,
it was right outside this room. Yeah, it was a weird day for let's just do weird stuff with magic. So, but yes, Rael, stepping inside into the cool, cozy dark. Which, I mean, it's dark, but you have sunlight coming in, reflecting, good ray tracing, and sit and. Rail kind of relaxes a little bit because clearly no peripheral mage sight tingling here. It's just been opened. There is a scent here that is undisturbed for a decade. And he's like, this truly is a very private place. Okay. So yes. That is who we are, the Liberators, and what we intend to do. So I go back to my first question, which is, what exactly is it that you all have in mind and are attempting to do, and how might we work together? What is it that you are seeking from the Liberators?
As before, was going to pause and wait.
I want to stop the serpents. Put an end to the pain and tyranny that they are creating.
You can see that Rael is taken aback a little bit, kind of leans into his really well-carved chair. What do you mean stop them?
Throw a wrench in the machinery they're creating.
I
Get
perhaps was
people.
unclear. What are they doing that you are wanting to stop? Because you can see, like, at legitimate, honest confusion, he's like, wait, hang on. Stop them doing what?
Oh, I thought we had talked to him about them.
No, you mentioned that
Not
you'd
yet.
gone to the plantation and burnt it down.
Oh, I thought he knew who was running it.
He knows
Ah.
of the serpents.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
He hasn't seen the giant machine.
So Theo will jump in here and say that there was a purpose to that plantation. We were unaware of the time we did deliberation, but it became clear to us later that they were creating perfected suffering.
My God. Okay. Well, that explains. I suspect that we came across the plantation much as you all did in process of removing linchpins from the slavery network. That one came up as a predominant one. And so we went to investigate and found, quite a few unusual things. So we turned away and found the plantation in the astral. So what exactly, how is this perfected suffering?
But then looks at both Baba Sarah and Max and says, "May I?" And then he says to Ryle, he says, as brief background, it is important to me to liberate others. That is what led to we, as a coven, choosing to spontaneously do something that needed to be done. We did not have any specific plans to encounter this plantation or interact specifically with the serpents. We have been freeing others through a means that allows them to travel great distances without breaking their minds. We can discuss that later. It might be useful to you in your work. One of the people we freed from bondage had clearly undergone some strange kind of mistreatment, had experienced some horrid trauma, and was left with a incongruous explanation. We went in search of the true explanation because it had been carved from his memory and his timeline. We needed to pay a serious price for the return of a portion of that experience such that we could understand the truth of what he went through. It was thereby revealed to us that the suffering that occurred at that plantation was then forged. It is not an inapt metaphor here. Forged into a gear or gears to go into a great machine of gargantuan, sublime extent. It is possible this machine does a great many things. However, at least one portion of this machine relies on gears that are forged out of perfected suffering. We wish to jam those gears.
You can see he is. This is a lot.
And then Legwood says, "Would you like another apple?"
We not just yet.
Puts a hand on him.
Yeah,
Legwood's shoulder. He doesn't want that apple.
I guess it's true. Yeah, Max and Baba Sarah are like, we've seen it.
I mean, if I was gonna offer to show him if he was interested, but like, if you want to see what they were doing, we can. We received the time that he lost. And it wasn't only him. It was the event and his injury was removed from the memories of everyone.
So they were covering something up.
They didn't
Yes.
want anyone to find out about the machine.
So this is why they set fire to the plantation.
Yes. They were covering their tracks.
Oh.
Legba says, "Would you like an apple?
So
It will not break your mind." And he says, I have judgment. I have good judgment. I now understand that others have feelings.
And Rael, like, that's a thing we're going to talk about later too. And Max probably goes, "You didn't have feelings?" So he's like, "No, hang on. I am interested." And like Mastigos to Mastigos, there's this definitely like, this will make me stronger, but I got other questions first. So
he's trying to give him the answers.
Right, yeah. No, I understand. So they are doing more than just being involved in the production of sugar cane, which was a question that we had. How were these 7 people, because he says that and then looks right at Max and right at Bob hair and goes, these 7 people were okay. So you don't truly need a bunch of abolitionists. You need an army. You're going up against the Serpents because they're pushing a cyclopean construct of some form using perfected suffering.
One gear that we know of used perfected suffering.
Yes, we don't know what else they might have or what the machine is for.
Well, even something as pure as joy put to wrong efforts, and because I think at this point we'd probably be able to talk about opium being a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, pretty sure that's in this era. And he kind of nods. He's thinking things through, and then turns to Legba, like, "Yep." And puts it, well, actually, he does it metaphorically. He puts his hand out. He's like, "Hit me."
Great. All right. So Legba places his hand over, and this is going to be an improvised spell of both prime and mind, so that he can create a TAS apple.
Sure.
That will give him specifically understanding without view. So he's not going to put in the images of the machine. He's going to give him, this is the understanding you would get if you had seen it without being traumatized by witnessing it.
I really dig that. Yeah. And which, of course, he's on board for the suffering. It takes a bite of said apple and goes.
Also, Mastigos, it's entirely possible for him to partition that part of his awareness and see what
But he bites in and he goes, and like there's this hint of disappointment. Like he was prepped, he was ready. He was like, "Yeah, let's do."
Prepared for it.
Oh, okay. And like an understanding that, well, there are these, these faces, these people. It's like, okay.
And then Legba says, "I would not show you what happened to the man of which we speak, because that is his experience."
He nods. He's like, "I understand. Truly."
I
mean, that event is technically ours.
Well,
we paid
fair enough.
for it. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah,
Legba and Cloak's still thinking of it slightly differently. So
right.
He wouldn't disagree with Max or Helena saying that, but I'm just saying that's the reason why he chose to do it that way.
Okay. So our assumption about what they were doing. Okay, so we can actually probably move forward on a few things on our end. Possibly. Okay. And like mentally compartment. So yeah, you need an army. You need the Serpents are enormous organization with agents literally in the Diamond Order and throughout the Seers, and as far as I'm aware, basically every ruling class and polity and decision maker within the world.
Yeah.
Just to keep our options open, we may not need a full army if we have skilled enough infiltrators.
Oh yes, infiltrate the best infiltrators the Seers have.
I'm just
To be
putting it
fair.
out there, just saying it's an option.
Like this. Right, sorry.
We
Finish.
began investigating this without knowing who we were investigating. So it is entirely possible that this is above our pay grade, but I'm not comfortable giving up yet.
He smiled, like the biggest smile. He's like, no, of course not. Why would we? No, we see a problem and we fight it. We punch it. Yes. And like nods. It's like, yep, I definitely remember you now.
like what says, at first we do not need an army. We need more monkeys. You do
Sure.
not shoot a snake. You bite it.
Yep. Well, the Serpents individually are talented, and well, they are where they are because they are the King Cobras, among all the other serpents and snakes. But if, and I say if, they're not actually involved in pushing slavery, then perhaps they are working for other gears. You've disrupted one, which plantation full of suffering is not exactly difficult to find and start anew.
If the astral representation remains, that will make it easier for them to create one afresh.
And I'm sure they have documentation and grimoires of just wonderful designs for making more things like this.
And then Legwa says, forgive me for... I think one thing that is most important to remember about them is that they, as we have learned, or as far as we have ascertained, they have support throughout the Seers. They are not considered a divisive group, unlike many others. To use the parlance of which I'm poorly familiar, their pylon is well respected and hired for tasks throughout their ministries.
It is less that they are necessarily respected so much as feared.
Mm.
And they are also internally one of the most cutthroat pylons.
Mm.
The only reason I think that they have not completely taken over the United States, their current workspace, is because they do not get along personally. They work together very, very well, but when any of them make moves upwardly or try to put themselves above the others, they get pulled down by the others. That's
Crabs in a bucket.
I believe I can understand that metaphor. Yes. It is, again, our only saving grace. And kind of looks left, right. We have previously captured one and had some unwise investigation into their existence. And you can see like there's some level of shame on his face.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we have some bit of understanding and knowledge of their whereabouts. I am willing to lend you, because if it puts the information into good use, capital G, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will feel much better about what we have done. But if I hand this over to you all, you are jumping into the Serpent's lair. Getting involved with them will put a target on your back. Some of them are like Sir Lucan, who actually he brings up. Megan Gander, the Great Serpent, is mostly truthful and honorable. So long as it is in his best interest, so long as he's maintaining face, he will do what he says. If you swore personally, then he let you go. That facade lasts as long.
I walked away.
Sure. And he did not pursue. He maintains that so long as it is in his interest. It is a affectation, a failing. I don't know how he might. Well, he probably thinks that he is a noble knight as he portrays himself. But yes, each of them are a handful. Each of them have their own agents that they do not share amongst one another. I can help get your investigation, your infiltration started. But if you go after any one of them, they will all together join and turn to destroy you utterly. There is a reason that we have this information and have done nothing with it.
Intriguing.
Which one did you capture?
They are no longer with us. Hang on. I didn't actually think about somebody actually asking that, so let me go grab.
Because
we have the one you offed.
Yeah, we have Trigander.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we had captured and dispatched Sangander. For those following along at home, that would be True Serpent. They will not trouble you. Which I will also say, any allusion to them being archmages, you can disregard. At least that much.
Legba smiles. And he says, as I assumed.
They are talented. They have the support and backing of Archmasters, but they themselves, as far as we are aware and have seen, are not. Sangander made a play to claim that level of power and was pulled down and tossed to the side, and that was their mistake and our gain. And we pulled everything we could from them.
Everything?
And Helena's thoroughly not bothered by that.
Yeah, no.
Like, yeah, of course.
Everything.
Legba says.
Thea?
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Did you keep anything from them? A soul, perhaps?
No, that we returned to the wheel. The thought had occurred to us. But we studied it. Studied their entire life, went through every memory, walked through every corridor of their own Euros that we could get into, and then we sent them on.
Did you force them to make a soul stone?
Just as that question is hanging in the air, Theo's a little torn because ooh, but also ooh.
I did everything. Leg was not eager to use it. Leg is just going to ask questions. How thorough were you? Right.
Well,
this will influence the nature of the conversations he has.
The short answer out of character is no. I was stuck thinking, could you actually force somebody to?
That's what I was thinking. Like, can you make someone make
psychic domination?
Yeah, I was to say with psychic domination,
you could force somebody to make a soul stone.
Yep. You would just have to make sure the duration was long enough. Yeah.
Or you could trick them. I mean, there's ways, if you were sufficiently good at Canthus, you could probably induce conditions in which somebody would end up choosing to make that, and then you steal it.
Yep.
Let them think it was their own
decision.
Exactly.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But no, he's like, again, thought of, did not. There are some things that we were not willing to do, but
Legba says, before we continue, how many of you remain enlightened?
Papa Legba, I don't think people ask that question in polite society.
Well, Legba says, I would not have if you hadn't admitted to doing many unwise things in pursuit of this.
And let me quick reference to the proper in character terms for wisdom. Oh yeah, they're definitely not enlightened, because that would be 8 to 10. But yeah, no, we none of us are. I don't know what term he might use. None of us are enlightened. We've gotten our hands dirty, but none of us are failing.
I feel like none of our souls are clean, but
right.
Yeah, that would be a good way for them to put it. I agree, Ash. He nods and he says, we are not all joined, and I do not speak for all members of our coven. However, it is quite important to me to maintain wisdom, because I have seen what will happen to me if I don't.
He nods. He's like, I understand that. It is one of those things that in other circumstances I may try to return there, but I have not been there in decades. So I applaud in you. He's reading the room, right? He's like, I applaud your efforts to do so. And I do not hold that against you. But the things, even before I left the Diamond Order, I could not have maintained that level of wisdom, that control over myself.
Believe there are things that we can do to stop what is happening that allow us to continue to walk with Sophia. However, if our paths diverge based on that, I want you to be forewarned.
I like that. He nods. He's like, that is understandable. And I do not think you and I will come to any kind of disagreement in proper procedure. The stains and sins on my soul are enough for me.
He nods and he says, what does he say? He says, oh, this is what he says. He says, please confirm something for me before you give us, or before you divulge the lurid details that might allow us to then assault whatever hideout they have. No, you don't know. He says, before we are to slither our way into their den. He says, how many masters do they have?
The serpents themselves are multiple degree masters, and they themselves have agents beneath them that are also masters. We yeah, we only can assume that they were in similar position as Sangander, with easily half a dozen masters beneath each serpent.
Hmm.
They are.
Go
ahead.
No, I'll wait.
They are talented and powerful and draw those of similar talent and power and ambition to them.
Hmm.
They are seers.
Legba says, how many of them are black?
Oh, like you?
Yes.
None that I'm aware of.
Are any of their agents?
He thinks, he's like, I have no evidence that they don't have any. They have no problems finding agents among all nationalities and origins.
How many of them are addicts?
What do you mean? Out of character.
Addicted to substance.
Oh.
Do we know their identities?
No. And he's Sangander.
Oh yeah, we only know what they took from him.
Mm-hmm. Sangander didn't, and you can see he is literally thinking through Sangander's
reviewing
memories.
all of it as a Mastigos, going through his database of all of the memories that he collected from him.
Didn't assume any were or could easily be manipulated. Of course, if they were addicts, they would have kept it from one another. But Sangander didn't have any assumptions or guesses that they might be. I don't think amongst them they'd let a physical addiction, at least, rule them. They are very likely addicted to power.
That comes to my next question. before I pause to allow my coven mates to ask their own, of course, is, do you know what their obsessions are? That's right, Mastico's going to be asking all these silly questions.
No, I was looking through what notes I had. Sangander did not know the others, but Sangander's had been to strengthen his position, take Archmastery, and then build the machine, which now is becoming more clear.
You have context for.
Correct.
Was there anything else about the machine in his memories?
They were pretty thorough about scrubbing links. I expect that would have applied to them as well.
A great machine. Sorry, podcast folks. Rael is looking back and forth, searching his memories of somebody else's memories, and kind of looks up and says, I have no memory of a machine or the plantation. And with, it may take some time, but I don't even sense or see gaps in memories where such visits might have taken place. So
he was from somewhere else.
Well, Sangander either was very, very careful with his memories, or after he was thrown down by the serpents, they ripped every memory of such things out of him and left the rest. It could be that their obsession was to build the machine. They would have been involved in some way, but I would have to spend some time looking through not the entire lifetime, but there's quite a lot in here.
What arcana do you have?
Legbo with the impolite questions. I am a master of mind. And there's a ... left there. So I can sort through these. Do
you have prime?
I have some. You can see he's like, all right, buddy, we don't know each other that well. and I know from Ralph and Legba's perspective, right, it doesn't matter, but yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so he's gonna be him. He says, I could design something for you that would aid you if you wish.
I appreciate the offer, but I will do well on my own.
Suit yourself.
Thank you. I am already, now that you've asked, starting to think of new Goche to aid me.
Then I have thereby helped you as I'd hoped.
Yep. He brings it. He's like, hang on. Nope. It's two mastigos going back and forth are a bad idea. Of did I just implant that in your head? And it's like, okay, hang on. We're just that won't get us anywhere.
We're just gonna let it go.
Yep. And so he nods. He's like, I will search. I think he even says we will search. But it definitely comes across as a royal we. And we are Legion kind of situation.
Yep.
And he
Speaking
nods.
of heartache.
Yep. Hang on. But yes, he's like, I will think of some way, and I will piece this timeline together. Of course, what I do not have, I do not have. But if I can find ragged edges, perhaps that may also give you clues.
Legba looks super excited about the notion of ragged edges, and he pauses for a minute because he wants to make sure he's not interrupting everybody. And then he says, "You have said you will do this yourself. If at some point you become interested in trying to learn how to replace what has been removed and has less ragged edges, please do call on me."
He nods. He's like he could read between the lines. Like, there's a story here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But well, I will. He kind of looks at Legba and like the core of the apple of tasks, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I will construct something to share what I can from what we drew from Singander. But I will wish you all luck in finding this machine and taking on these serpents. But my purpose, our purpose, is abolition. And while I can see that our paths are definitely aligned in the same direction, we are not going to the same places, which saddens me a bit, but it is also gladdening to know that there are others similarly aligned and causing pain in the serpent's side, and all their attention is not solely on us, and probably never was to begin with, now that I think of it. But let me tell you, well, that is one of the other things that we do not know, is whether or not Singander was beaten and thrown out, as in one throws out a regular from a bar, or excommunicated. They are all prelates, so they do not walk away from their tasks. They do not have that option. So these are some of the concerns that my cabal had when we found that plantation and met Sir Lucan and some of his friends. And, we fled from that place and investigated and found Singander. I blame our Acanthus for that.
Trying to figure out the timeline. Did they catch this guy after we raided?
No.
Okay.
No, Singander, Singander was months ago.
Okay, I was wondering if he had gotten kicked out because he failed, and we
not a bad idea, but no. Yeah, timeline very clearly Singander had been gone. Singander should have had memories of the plantation in action, but doesn't.
Okay, but they were not there. Okay.
Correct. Without dragging this out in character, is there anything else you guys actually want to know from Rael?
Yeah. I'm just waiting.
Sure.
I've been asking a lot of questions, so.
Oh, no, I appreciate it.
I'll make sure I'm not stepping on toes.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, thank you. Legba asks Rael, When you are sending people away to England, for example, how are you doing it?
He smiles. He's like, the old-fashioned way. Pay a fare, pack their luggage, send them away with trustworthy captains.
Has that limited the rate at which you can liberate people and send them away?
No. Our limitation has been avoiding the serpents who are lurking in all the shadows, pushing the slave economy. Now we realize that's never been a thing. So we will be upping our steps. There's this gentleman. Oh man. Yeah. This gentleman, John Brown, who's of interest to us.
Uh-huh.
But yes, there's more actions that we will take now that we know that the elite of the seers are not lurking over our shoulders. It may cause some growing pains for America, but it's what it needs. It's what the world needs, but picking our battles.
And then Legba says, we are also timing our liberations based on certain other concerns, which means that we cannot, or we do not do it as frequently as our coven might wish to. If you need aid, especially if you wish to do it under the cover of darkness, as is, I might suggest, most apt. I will at least speak for myself, but I assume that my coven mates would also think so, that we'd be happy to aid you in that.
Well, that is something that we will speak of the next time we meet, when I can bring you a, hopefully something that's not a tedious read and something more direct with information from the serpents. We can discuss then, because I do wish to meet again, but perhaps we trust one another to meet in places that are, and like looks slightly askance at Baba Sarah, more comfortable.
You don't find this
openly offended.
Yeah.
With
This is quite
drink.
comfortable.
With drink and perhaps music. Like, and he knows he knows he's making a dig.
Yeah.
He has masticos. But
Hopefully offended, but also too embarrassed about the origins of this to actually say anything.
That's true. Like, we're not going to talk about what I put together here. But he says we can meet again. New York has a few places that would be accommodating if any of you wish to. Man, are they calling it the Big Apple at this time? I can't remember.
I don't remember how old the phrase is. I think it started in the 1800s.
Right.
Or maybe it started later. Let's see.
We have the internet. We can just know this.
Yes, yes.
Reach out to the tomatoes, Ralph.
I am doing so. First time, popularized in the 1920s.
1920.
Yeah.
So,
let's see.
Yeah. Sorrel says, yes, the next time you want to be the big, and he holds up the apple core, the Big Apple. That's right. Canonically, Rael invented it.
Fantastic.
But yeah, we can meet there or other cities and we can just have a nice get together. And like nods at Legba and says, comfortably in the north. But for now, I do need to leave before my cabal come looking for you all.
You are not communicating with them?
I have come here with no connections anywhere into anything.
Yes.
Reasonable precaution.
Smart, yeah. But you're right.
Yeah, and if any of you turn on your Prime site, dude is clean. Like he's not carrying any yantras. Like his clothing is new. Like there's no sympathetic connections to this guy anywhere.
He's not dropping hair or skin cells. Or...
Nope.
Yeah, Legba looks at that and he says, I think that is a straightforward approach. I have soon realized that I might be able to do something that the serpents themselves might also be able to do with the combination of arcana that I possess. So, if you retain in your mind at the present any memories of the people to whom you wish not to yield connections, that is a vulnerability.
It is.
If I were unwise, falling, one of the serpents wished you and the other liberators harm, I could rip those memories from your mind and create a fresh connection from them.
That is a potential problem. I will have to keep that in mind.
Yes, a fresh offer, meant in trust.
Interesting. I don't know how well I am cut out for this sneaking about, but yes, and like draws a pocket watch out. Yes. Tempest Fugit.
Until next time.
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
Until next time.
Oh, yes. He kind of stands, Picard maneuvers. Shout out. If you get that, let us know in the comments. If you don't Google it, you have to honestly know what the Picard maneuver is. And then, I guess he just walks out. And actually
fades into a heat haze.
Well, probably not even fades into a heat haze. He walks for quite because with Legba's inward outward eye, you have vision of him for quite some time. He just walks and then is suddenly gone. Well away. He definitely has spells on him because those would be needed to not have sympathetic connections, but the Veil Nimbus, I think. No, Supernal Veil, to try and hide some of that stuff. But whoosh, away he goes to meet up with his Kevin and be like, "Yo, guys, it's cool, not dead." And yes, then you all return back to Purgatory Bluff. Unless, well, I don't know. I was gonna say, does Baba Sarah, do you want to take a nap?
No, I'm going to get back.
Then we return back to Purgatory. Yep. Isabel is fine. Catherine is fine. There are no shenanigans because I had thought about it. Be like, oh yeah, everybody's out of town. Perfect. This is when the serpents strike. But out of
somehow,
yes,
they get past the barrier.
As we mentioned, it's just a clash of wills.
I know.
And the Acanthus could also get by that barrier fairly quickly.
Yes, but they would have to find the barrier, and finding Purgatory Bluff is difficult if you have poor intention. So And this is something Ralph and I had talked about ages ago off screen, but it's like, actually, if people start to want to get into Purgatory Bluff, it will not take long to actually figure out what might be happening.
Totally.
And experiment and to get through. So it was one of the things we discussed.
There is a way.
Like, it's actually not
open
foolproof.
hole.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but for the most part, until people realize it, which is really what you want.
Right.
You just want them to
not
feel
even know.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Before we go our separate ways, Theo says we should devote some time individually and collectively into fortifications.
What kind do you mean?
If we're going to do this, go up against the Serpents, we need to make sure this place is safe. As safe as we can make it. We're going to war. If we do this, we're going to war.
Helena rolls up her sleeve. She's like, this is what it's fucking made for, bro.
Just, yeah.
Yep.
Perhaps other bargains should be.
Yep. Call up some more supernal beings. Call up a bigger imp.
Yeah. Lake was like, what about rank 7?
No.
All right, fine. Drew says, no, come on now. Make it happen.
Sure.
You can certainly try.
You can head out to the Anima Mundi and go meet the only ranks. Well, I guess they're technically Goche.
Yes.
But yes.
We talked about this. We've talked about this. You just, you said we're not going to go there in the story yet. But Lake was ready to go out there.
Oh, sure. Well, and you guys technically made one visit, I think.
Nope. I think we talked about it.
Well, because I think you and Petrichor made the hoof out that way to throw the abyssal entity that had been in Valosia out into the...
Yeah. That's right.
But yeah, you had not visited Aeons.
Yeah. That's right.
That was probably one of those... That's an interesting place, but we have a thing, and the ecstatic wind is blowing us away. We need to just handle this real quick and then leave. So I'm gonna speak for Chris. Yeah, we need to fortify this place, and I mean between the four of y'all, got a lot of Arcana. Yeah, kind of missing the fate section of things, but a lot of the other things that you might want to use to sturdy this place up, you got a lot of it. So that'll definitely be some stuff. We may actually do a time skip to reflect the all right, so the Cabal, the Coven, roll their sleeves up and fortify this place. All the mundane people have no idea, other than maybe there's some odd twists in the wood and different patterns that start showing up around town, and these other things. Just was that always like that? I can't remember. Yep.
But your crops are growing really well. Everything is going great. Good
Don't
vibes.
ask questions. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, unless anybody has any last minute little comments or anything like that, I think that's probably a good place for us to put a pin in it. As Ash yawns and needs to go to sleep.
I did wake up an hour before my alarm.
No.
Yeah.
No problem. Rafi, good?
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Works for me.
Thank you all. Appreciate you joining us. And we will see you all next week. As always, if you want to join us on Discord, that's www.yeetinto.space. Come hang out, chat with us, tell us about your game, ask questions about Mage or any other TTRPG. Post cat, dog, pet pics, snake, whatever. We're cool.
Show us your birds.
Show us your birds. Ever since the Rookery, we just kind of we've been bird focused. It's just a thing. And then if you want to support us monetarily, again, absolutely not necessary, but we appreciate it. That's www.staylucky.club. You can join our Patreon and support us. We greatly appreciate it. Yeah, that's all we got. So we'll catch y'all next time. Bye.
See you next time.